A Guide to Comprehensive and Inclusive Sex Ed. Shattering the Taboo. Written, designed, and published by the Sex Ed Initiative.
Credits. Authors: Sua Irene Park, Ava Gonzalez, Ami Patel, Catherine Tang, Zoe Wing, Sarah Wheeler. Image citations: Canva, Mind the Graph. Illustrators: Sua Irene Park, Sabria Atia. Special thanks to these amazing individuals who helped fact-check and improve our work. Meg McElroy, Senior Program Director, American Civil Liberties Union of Illinois. Dawn Ravine, MPH, Sexuality Education Program Coordinator, Anne and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital. Sean Black, Chief Projects Officer, Illinois Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Allison Macklin, MSW, Policy and Advocacy Director, SIECUS. Dr. Supriya D. Mehta, MHS, PhD, University of Illinois Chicago, School of Public Health. Table of Contents. 1. Introduction. 2. Misconceptions. 3. Anatomy and physiology. 4. Identity and sexuality. 5. Sex and reproduction. 6. Pregnancy. 7. Personal safety. 8. STIs, STDs, and HIV. Discussion questions. Citations. Resources. Introduction. The Sex Ed Initiative is a youth-led organization that was founded in December 2021. Since then, we have expanded to places across the country and the world. We wanted to reach more schools and empower them to change their curriculum, but we didn't know where to start without all of the valuable information organized into one space. Thus, the idea of a handbook was born. As we started research, we realized there was a vast amount of information needed to be covered. If someone desperately needed quick and medically accurate information, they would be in trouble because it can be hard to distinguish factually accurate information from ill-researched information, and understanding one concept leads to another. We recognize that having all of this information condensed can be instrumental in preventing misinformation from being spread. Everyone on our team collaborated to write sections while receiving help from experts. So, you can rest assured that the information in this handbook is accurate and stigma-free. We sincerely hope that this handbook will be a helpful guide to answering all of your sex ed needs. Sincerely, the members of the Sex Ed Initiative. To prevent the usage of harmful language, we will be using the terms AMAB, assigned male at birth, and AFAB, assigned female at birth, throughout the handbook. When possible, gender-neutral they pronouns will be used. Otherwise, when appropriate, body-specific language will be utilized when referring to functions without a reference to a specific sex. Guidelines for a safe and inclusive environment. 1. Offer trigger warnings for every unit. Allow students to excuse themselves if something becomes too overwhelming for them to endure, and refer them to a school social worker counselor if needed. 2. Set rigid rules. Never let students make fun of each other. Name-calling or inappropriate language should not be tolerated. Never ask a student for their specific experiences unless they speak up first. Be respectful of how comfortable every student is with the content. 3. Address the content in gender-neutral terms where applicable. If discussing sex assigned at birth, preface which terms you will be using. For example, AFAB, AMAB, intersex, before your explanation. Approaching the content can be tricky. As a teacher, try not to show discomfort and be open to receiving questions. Not knowing is okay. Being honest is better than dismissing questions.
Section 2. Misconceptions. True or false. Instructions. Listen to each statement and decide if it is true, false, or neither. Give a brief reason why you think so. Question 1. Sex ed only teaches sex and consent. Answer. False. Although sex ed does teach about sex and consent, it is more than that. If it is inclusive, it teaches about healthy relationships, how to make safe decisions, preventing sexually transmitted infections, anatomy, identity, personal safety, and more. Sex ed is a guide for adolescents, so that our youth have the information they need to make informed decisions. When sex ed is successfully implemented in schools, it opens up conversations and creates tolerance regarding identities, gender expression, and respect. Question 2. Parents should have total control over sex ed. Answer. Neither. Just like with students, parents may hold misinformation or misconceptions from their own sex ed lessons or experiences. This can lead to children receiving factually inaccurate information or no information at all. We think it is important for parents, guardians, and adults to be a key part in conversation with their young people. We hope each student has trusted adults they can talk to. Students should have access to non-judgmental, medically accurate information about their bodies to make informed decisions about their health. If adults purposely limit the information available to youth, it limits the healthy decisions they are able to make for their lives. Question 3. Teaching sex ed encourages sex. False. People have sex, regardless if they have learned about sex ed in schools. Providing comprehensive and inclusive sex ed actually teaches students how to make safer decisions, such as using contraceptions or knowing the partner's health status or boundaries. Merely teaching abstinence does not prevent teen sex. Rather, this approach leaves students without the information and resources they need when they decide to engage in sexual behavior. Question 4. Sex ed is not compatible with religious beliefs. Answer. Neither. While different faith traditions might think differently about sex ed does not have any explicit religious or anti-religious statements associated with it. Sex ed promotes health and well-being for students recognize that health, just like faith, is only one aspect of a whole person. Sex ed is not prescriptive. It promotes everyone with the knowledge that they need to make healthy decisions for themselves. Question 5. Condoms are ineffective. Answer. Condoms are 98% effective when used properly. They are one of the most effective means of birth control or STI prevention. If someone claims they can't use condoms, explore your options and question if they are ready to be sexually intimate with that partner. Question 6. Contraceptives can harm your or your partner's health. Answer. False. Nothing is risk-free. However, not using contraceptives can have serious and long-term health consequences. If you are concerned about the risks associated with a specific contraceptive method, talk to a medical provider or trusted adult about your options. Question 7. Any contact with sperm makes you pregnant. Answer. False. Pregnancy cannot happen without sperm, but not every contact with sperm will lead to pregnancy. Most of the time, sperm cannot live for a very long time outside of the body. Ejaculation usually needs to occur within the vagina or very near the vagina for a possibility of pregnancy. Question 8. Sex only counts if it is heterosexual. Answer. False. All sex is real sex, and all sex counts. There are no standards for what is real sex. You don't have to be engaging in heterosexual sex to have legitimate sex. Question 9. Contraceptives are only important for women to know about. Answer: false. Anyone having vaginal sex where sperm and egg may meet needs information on birth control. Anyone having vaginal, anal, or oral sex needs information on preventing the spread of STIs. Others are prescribed hormonal contraception to treat heavy or painful periods or other health reasons. Contraceptives aren't only for preventing pregnancy. Just because you think you won't get pregnant does not mean you will not benefit from contraceptives. Question 10. Your genitals will be ruined through sex. Answer: false. If that is the case, then that means most people on Earth will have ruined genitals. You may experience infections if you do not use contraceptives. However, it is important for people who are sexually active to use protection and get tested regularly. All STIs are either curable with antibiotics or treatable with medications. Question 11. You cannot get pregnant if you have not had your first period. Answer: false. While it is not common, there is a small chance that you can get pregnant before you've had your first period. This is because the body releases an egg, which can be fertilized before your first period. Question 12. Hormonal birth control is bad for you. Answer: there are many different types of contraceptives used for birth control, and some include hormones. For example, some birth control pills increase the levels of estrogen or progestin, which prevents the egg from leaving the ovary. When taken properly, hormonal birth control pills are very effective at preventing pregnancy, because without an egg to be fertilized by sperm, there will be no pregnancy. There are occasional side effects for using hormonal control, including mood changes, acne changes, for better or for worse, breast tissue changes, nausea, bloating, even blood clotting. However, there is no science that backs claims that birth control will impact future fertility. However, as we'll see in the contraceptive section, there are a variety of different methods for birth control, not just pills. You can always ask questions and talk to your nurse or doctor about what contraceptives might be best for you. Question 13. People have sexual peaks. Answer: neither. A sexual peak is an age where each sex supposedly has the best sex of their life. There is no such thing as a sexual peak for each sex. People experience fluctuations in attraction, sex drive, and sexual response orgasm for a wide variety of reasons, such as not knowing how their body works, health status, stress, and hormone status. Question 4. Consent is just about sex. Answer: false. The lessons of consent extend to other aspects of life, such as relationship boundaries, family relationship, and friend relationships. Answer: false. The lessons of consent extend to other aspects of life, such as relationship boundaries, family relationships, and friend relationships.
Section 3. Anatomy and Physiology. Puberty. Puberty is the stage of adolescence where your body undergoes changes related to sexual maturation and hormonal changes. AFAB, assigned female at birth. The external AFAB anatomy includes the pubis, the vulva, and breasts. The mons pubis, otherwise known as the pubic mound, is the fleshy area that lies above the pelvic bone where AFABs typically grow pubic hair. The vulva refers to the external parts of an AFAB's genitals and includes the regions such as the labia majora, labia minora, and glands clitoris and the urethra. The labia majora are the fleshy outer lips that lie outside of the vaginal opening and often grow pubic hair. The labia minora are the inner lips that sit inside the labia majora but can also extend beyond. The labia minora are the inner lips that sit inside the labia majora but can also extend beyond the outer lips. The glans clitoris sits on the top of the vulva where the labia minora meets and only a small part of it is visible. During sexual stimulation, however, The gland's clitoris may expand because of the number of sensitive nerve endings it contains. The urethra connects to the bladder, and its opening sits on the top of vaginal opening and is where the urine exits the body. Breasts are often considered accessory organs for reproduction as they are responsible for supplying milk to children after birth. An AFAB will often see their breasts expanding as they undergo puberty, but it is important to understand that breast sizes and shapes vary greatly from person to person. The internal AFAB anatomy mainly includes reproductive organs and starts at the vagina, the canal leading from the vulva to the uterus. The size of the vagina varies from person to person, but the average length ranges from 2.5 to 3 inches. The hymen, aka vaginal corona, is the thin membrane that covers the external vaginal opening. It is important to note, however, that not all AFABs have a hymen, and that absence of a hymen does not mean an AFAB has been sexually active. While it is true that the hymen can break during sexual activity, it can also break during other intense physical activities, such as riding a bike. In general, the hymen rarely breaks in one event. Rather, it thins, stretches, and tears over time. Therefore, usually, an AFAB won't even feel it breaking. The lower part of the uterus is called the cervix, a cylinder-shaped region that separates the vagina from the rest of the uterus. The cervix also dilates during birth to allow the baby to access vaginal opening. The uterus is the area that holds the baby during the pregnancy, as well as the lining that sheds during a menstrual cycle when there is no pregnancy. The upper portion of the uterus is connected to the ovaries from the fallopian tubes. Most AFABs are born with 2 ovaries, egg-shaped organs that produce eggs as well as hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. AMAB, assigned male at birth. The external AMAB anatomy includes the penis, the scrotum, and the testicles. The penis is the AMAB organ for sexual intercourse and sexual reproduction. It is made up of 3 parts: the root, the body, and the glands. The root is the region of the penis that attaches to the wall of the abdomen. The body or shaft of the penis contains 3 internal chambers that use erectile tissue that fill with blood when sexually aroused, an erection. The glands refer to the cone-like shape at the end of the penis that is covered with a loose layer of skin called foreskin. The opening of the urethra for AMABs also lie at the tip of the glands, but during ejaculation, the release of sperm, the flow of urine is blocked. In other words, an AMAB cannot urinate and ejaculate at the same time. The scrotum refers to the pouch-like sac of skin hanging behind the penis. Its main function is to protect testes by functioning as a kind of climate control system, moving the testicles closer to the body for warmth or farther away to cool them. The testicles are the oval organs roughly about the size of large olives responsible for making testosterone, the primary AMAB sex hormones, as well as producing sperm. The internal AMAB anatomy is composed of 6 main parts: vas deferens, ejaculatory ducts, seminal vesicles, urethra, prostate glands, and bulbourethral glands. The vas deferens, also known as the sperm duct, is the long tube located near each testicle in which sperm is stored. During ejaculation, the vas deferens transports sperm to the urethra. Ejaculatory ducts empty into the urethra and are formed by the fusion of vas deferens and the seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles are the pouches that are attached to the vas deferens near the base of the bladder. These vesicles produce the fructose, a sugar-rich fluid that gives the sperm the energy to move. During ejaculation, the majority of fluids released is made up of the fluid from the seminal vesicles. The urethra for AMABs, like the one for AFABs, is responsible for transporting urine outside of the body. However, in AFABs differ in that in AMABs, the urethra also includes the additional function of ejaculating semen. The prostate gland is located in front of the rectum and behind the urinary bladder. A structure roughly the size of a walnut, the prostate gland secretes additional fluid that helps nourish the sperm. The bulbourethral glands, otherwise known as Cowper's glands, are structures the size of peas located on the sides of the urethra below the prostate gland. These glands produce a clear fluid that serves to lubricate the urethra. Intersex. Intersex is an umbrella term used to describe a wide variety of variations in sex characteristics, such as chromosomes, hormones, genitals, and/or reproductive organs. This can show up at birth or later in one's life. There are approximately the same number of intersex individuals as there are red-headed people, so they may be more common than we think. However, due to the lack of education surrounding intersex individuals and their differing experiences, there is discrimination against these individuals in healthcare settings and everyday life. Individuals who are intersex are prone to unwanted genitalia surgeries at birth in order to seem more normal, a clear violation of one's rights. These surgeries can actually leave an individual with more health complications later on and distort their sense of confidence and self-awareness. Some intersex variations include androgen insensitivity syndrome, AIS, XX intersex, XY intersex, true gonadal intersex, aphalia, clitoromegaly, Klinefelter syndrome, and Turner syndrome. More information can be found by visiting ISNA, or Interact Advocates can help as they are an organization specifically by and for intersex youth. Short answer. Number 1. Name 2 different intersex variations and explain each. You may take this opportunity to research. Answers. Number 1. Answers may vary. Androgen insensitivity syndrome, AIS. An individual with AIS has genitals of a normal female appearance, testes, and a short vagina with no cervix. At puberty, the testes produce testosterone. Because testosterone is chemically very similar to estrogen, some of the testosterone converts back to estrogen. This estrogen produces breast growth, though it may be late. Women with AIS do not menstruate, are not fertile, and have very little bodily hair. Klinefelter syndrome. In Klinefelter syndrome, an AMAB is born with an extra copy of the X chromosome, XXY. The symptoms are mild, and many may not realize they have it, such as late crawling, walking, and talking, being taller than expected, infertility, and low sex drive. Number 2. What is the function of a cervix? Answer. Number 2. The cervix dilates during birth to allow the baby to slide down the vagina. Number 3. What are the 3 parts of the penis? Answer. Number 3. The penis is made up of the root, the body, and the glands. Number 4. Does the hymen indicate sexual activity? Why or why not? Number 4. Answer. No. Not all females have a hymen, and that absence of a hymen does not mean a female has been sexually active. While it is true that the hymen can break during sexual activity, it can also break during other intense physical activities, such as riding a bike. Number 5. Name the primary hormones for females and males. What makes each different from one another? Answers. Number 5. Female hormones. Female hormones. Estrogen and progesterone. Male hormone. Testosterone. Both sexes have estrogen and testosterone present. However, females have higher levels of estrogen while males have higher levels of testosterone.
Section 4. Identity and Sexuality. Gender identity is how one identifies their gender. It doesn't have to match the sex assigned at birth and can range from AFAB, AMAB, non-binary, gender fluid, trans, and much more. Pronouns are a way people use to identify their gender to others. respect what others want. Sexual orientation. Sexual orientation refers to someone's preferences in terms of romantic or sexual feelings for a specific sex or gender. Some different types of sexual orientations. This is not an exhaustive list of terms to describe sexuality. For instance, some may use gay, lesbian, or same-gender loving instead of homosexual. Use the term you prefer and respect the terms others prefer. Gay/lesbian. Sexual attraction towards someone of the same gender. Straight. Sexual attraction towards someone of the opposite gender. Bisexuality. Sexual attraction for two or more genders. Asexuality. No sexual attraction towards anyone. Pansexuality. Sexual attraction to multiple genders. Men, women, gender fluid, non-binary, etc. Questioning. Someone who is still navigating their sexual orientation. Demisexuality. Someone who only feels sexual attraction once they are in a relationship or have an emotional connection to their partner. Queer. A term that has been embraced and reclaimed by many in the LGBTQ community as a symbol of pride, representing individuals who identify outside of their typical expectations for gender and/or sexuality. It is historically a derogatory term and considered a slur for some. Please be aware of its background before using it. Identity Practice Worksheet. Short answer. Number 1. Are the terms gender and sex used for the same purposes? If so, explain what they mean. If not, differentiate them. Answer. Short answer number 1. Gender and sex are used for different purposes. Gender refers to how one identifies with socially constructed roles and can range from female, male, non-binary, and much more. Sex is attributed to one's biological attributes and is assigned at birth. Number 2. What do pronouns entail? Why do people use them? Answer number 2. Pronouns are used to identify one's gender to others. It is important to use them to show your respect to another person. If you are unsure of someone's pronouns, politely ask. Question number 3. What does sexual orientation refer to? Answer number 3. Answer number 3. Sexual orientation refers to one's... Answer number 3. Sexual orientation refers to someone's preferences in terms of romantic or sexual feelings for a specific sex or gender. Identity Practice Worksheet. Identify. Instructions. Give the terminology used that matches the type of sexual orientation. A. No sexual attraction to anybody. B. Sexual attraction towards someone of the same gender. C. Someone who is still navigating their sexual orientation. D. The umbrella term for the different sexualities and gender identities. E. Sexual attraction to multiple genders, men, women, transgender, intersex, etc. F. Sexual attraction towards someone of the opposite gender. G. Someone who only feels sexual attraction once they are in a relationship or have an emotional connection to their partner. H. Sexual attraction for men and women. Number 4. Asexuality. Number 5. Homosexuality. Number 6. Questioning. Number 7. Queer. Number 8. Pansexuality. Number 9. Heterosexuality. Number 10. Demisexuality. Number 11. Bisexuality.
Sex and reproduction. Side note, it is important to use contraception and birth control methods to prevent STIs or pregnancy. All types of sexual activity require consent and communication. Anyone of any gender or sexual orientation may consent to or decline any type of sexual activity. Each person is the expert on themselves. Sex. Sex refers to the act of sexual intercourse between one, two, or more people. There are many different types, including oral, anal, vaginal, and masturbation, including many more. Oral sex. Oral sex refers to the act of sexual stimulation using a mouth on another person's genitals. You cannot get pregnant from oral sex, but there is a chance for STIs. As such, using condoms or dental dams is crucial in preventing the spread of STIs. Anal sex. Anal sex refers to the act of sexual stimulation of the anus, such as the insertion of the penis or finger into the anus or the butt. You cannot get pregnant from anal sex. There is some increased risk of STIs due to the greater possibility of blood present. Due to the presence of feces, a barrier method of protection is recommended, whether it's a dental dam or a condom. Additionally, lubrication should be used. Vaginal sex. Vaginal sex refers to the act of vaginal penetration, normally a penis, into the vagina. This is the only form of sexual activity that can lead to pregnancy, and there is a risk of STIs unless a barrier method is used, like a condom. Masturbation. Masturbation refers to the act of stimulating the genitals with their hands. This can occur for one, two, or more people. What is virginity? Virginity is a term that has historically and inaccurately been used to indicate that someone has not yet been sexually active. To some people and cultures, this concept is a social construct because it is considered relative and stigmatizes AFABs. To others, virginity and abstinence before marriage is considered moral. Emergency contraception. Emergency contraception was invented as a way for AFABs to prevent a pregnancy in case their first method of contraception fails, and is only necessary if an AFAB has engaged in penis-to-vagina sex. Some of these situations are not adhering to abstinence, missing birth control pills, or if a condom breaks or comes off accidentally. Emergency pills. Some examples include emergency contraceptive levonorgestrel pills, such as Plan B, Take Action, My Way, Option 2, Preventiza, After Pill, My Choice, Aftera, E-Contra, etc. These are available for purchase over the counter at drugstores or pharmacies without a prescription by those 17 or older. The pill should be taken within 3 to 5 days of unprotected sex for it to be effective. Different pills will specify different time periods, so be sure to read the pill instructions and information carefully. Intrauterine devices, or IUDs. IUDs are available with doctor prescription. They can be installed up to 5 days after unprotected sex or ovulation to prevent pregnancy. IUDs must be fitted by a qualified healthcare professional. Local medical centers and clinics often provide IUD fitting services. Other options exist too. Implants, injections, and IUSs are also other emergency contraceptives. Birth control. The contraception types that prevent pregnancy during vaginal sex are condoms, pills, rings, and IUDs. Protection. The contraceptive types that prevent transmission of STIs are condoms and dental dams. Potential classroom activity. Demonstrate the usage of a contraceptive. Condoms are the easiest. For instance, show how students can transform a condom into a dental dam by cutting off the ends of a condom, or putting a condom on a long object like a banana. Menstruation. Menstruation, or period, refers to the periodic, usually monthly, discharging of blood and other substances from the lining of the uterus. This occurs for individuals who undergo AFAB puberty or have ovaries, and this normally lasts until menopause, when reproductive hormones decline and periods stop. The process starts with the release of an egg from the ovary. This usually happens every month, and each ovary takes turns releasing an egg. Every month, the uterus builds up a nutrient-rich lining that is designed to support a fertilized egg. A fertilized egg is an egg that has been released from the ovary and fertilized by sperm. The amount of discharge during the menstruation cycle varies from person to person, as well as their condition. For instance, stress and eating habits can reduce or lengthen how long each menstrual cycle lasts. Irregular periods are to be expected. However, if this keeps happening, visiting your doctor is recommended. During this time, the individual can choose to use certain products to absorb the flow and prevent their clothes from becoming soiled. Pads and tampons are some of the most common. Pads and liners absorb the flow of discharge when they are placed on the bottom of underwear. Tampons are inserted into the vagina and can be used for a little longer than pads. Other options, such as period underwear and menstrual cups, also exist. Remember that hygiene is very important. Consistent showering and changing of the products, pads and tampons are 4 to 8 hours, cups are 12 hours max, can prevent any infections or shocks from happening. Discharge. Discharge is another important aspect of hygiene. The presence of clear, white, off-white, light yellow vaginal discharge is healthy and normal. Discharge will change at different points in the cycle and may be light brown in the days following menstruation. This discharge helps lubricate the vagina and maintain a healthy pH. Douching or washing the inside of the vagina is linked to health conditions such as yeast infections, vaginal irritation, and itching. Only wash the outside of the vulva. If there is a major change in discharge or vaginal itching, consult a healthcare provider for treatment. There is a myth that using tampons can cause someone to lose their virginity. This is false. The myth began because some measure the breaking of the hymen or vaginal corona as proof of virginity. However, as mentioned before, the stretching of the hymen or vaginal corona can happen through non-sexual activities, just like inserting a tampon. Premenstrual syndrome, or PMS. PMS is the period of time before ovulation and menstruation, around a week or two before, where the individual may feel symptoms including fatigue, mood swings, food cravings, depression, etc. This is due to the changes in hormone levels during the menstrual cycle. Premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD. PMDD occurs in a similar time frame as PMS, but its symptoms are much more severe, including extreme depression and anxiety before your period starts. For individuals with PMDD, you are advised to go see a doctor. Potential classroom activity. Show how students can put on menstrual products, including pads, tampons, and cups using diagrams. Easing discomfort during a period. 1. Take care of your mental health. Take this opportunity to do your hobbies. 2. Meditate. Focus on your breathing to calm your nerves and redirect your attention. 3. Eating healthy. It is normal to have cravings during your period, but it is still important to keep your health in mind. 4. Hot water bottle. When you are having severe cramps, using a hot water bottle or towel can ease the pain. 5. Drink hot water or tea. Herbal teas or other warm drinks can also ease your discomfort. 6. Light exercise. As much as it may hurt to even move, light exercise can be helpful for cramps. Sex and reproduction practice worksheet. Short answer. Number 1. Leslie wants to have sex with her boyfriend, who is drunk. He only had 1 glass of wine. Can he give consent? Explain. Answer: no. Leslie's boyfriend is not in a position to give consent because he is under the influence. Leslie should wait until her boyfriend is completely conscious and sober to ensure that consent is being communicated freely. Number 2. Sam's girlfriend gave consent to sex last time. Sam doesn't feel like asking again, so she assumes that it is okay to just go ahead. Did Sam make the right choice? Explain your answer. Answer: no, consent does not last forever. Every time you are engaging in sexual intimacy, you must continuously ask for consent. Number 3. Alex started their period today. List the different menstrual hygiene products Alex can use. Answer: Alex can use menstrual pads, tampons, cups, or menstrual underwear. Pads can be reusable or disposable. Number 4. List the different types of sex and indicate which can lead to pregnancy or STIs. Answer. There is anal sex, oral sex, vaginal sex, and masturbation. Only vaginal sex can lead to pregnancy, though everything else, including vaginal sex, can lead to STIs if not protected. Number 5. List potential symptoms of PMS. Answer. PMS, which normally happens around a week before a period, can include mood swings, depression, and food cravings. True or false? Write true or false and explain your answer. Number 1. Something is wrong if your period is too late once. Answer. False. Periods can be irregular depending on your lifestyle. While periods can indicate if you have a health issue, it is not an end-all be-all. One missed or irregular period is to be expected. If you still feel something is off, visiting a doctor is recommended. Number 2. Consent can be withdrawn at any time. Answer. True. If you or your partner feels uncomfortable with the situation at any point, consent can be revoked, and this must be respected. Number 3. Using contraception during any type of sex is inconvenient. Answer. False. While it can feel like a hassle, the benefits far outweigh any inconvenience. Preventing STIs or pregnancies is much more important. That 20 seconds during sex will not break the mood. Contracting an STI or being burdened with an unwanted pregnancy will.
Section 6. Pregnancy. Basic information. First trimester. You may experience some of the below symptoms, which vary by person. If you are interested in continuing the pregnancy, this is the time to start visiting your doctor and eating a balanced diet. Prenatal vitamins can aid in fetal development. Second trimester. Nausea may subside. Breast tissue and the abdomen may grow in size as the fetus continues to grow and develop. Your skin stretches to accommodate these changes, and stretch marks may appear. The fetus has fully developed all of its body parts and organs, and will start getting larger at this point. Third trimester. You may begin to feel false contractions, heat, and swelling of the ankles, face, and hands. Discomfort increases especially during this time, whether it's due to heavy fetus taking up a lot of space in your body or simple anxiety at the prospect of birth and new child. Leg cramps, constipation, and backaches can increase in severity. At this point in the pregnancy, any form of discomfort is expected, but make sure to visit a doctor if you have any questions or concerns. Symptoms. Early symptoms of pregnancy may include tender or swollen breasts, nausea, increased urination, fatigue, mood swings, backaches, headaches, food cravings or food aversions, darkening of the area around the nipples, bloating, and light spotting around the time of menstruation. Keep in mind that there can be other causes for these symptoms. If you are unsure of the reason, visit a doctor. The trimesters. First trimester, conception to 12 weeks. Second trimester, 12 to 24 weeks. Third trimester, 24 to 40 weeks. How to know if you are pregnant. The easiest and most common way to check if your partner is pregnant is with a pregnancy test. If your expected period is more than a week late and you are experiencing any of the below symptoms, you might want to take a home pregnancy test. If you haven't already, you can set up a tracker to know the expected next starting date of your period, when you're ovulating, etc. However, checking a missed period is not the most reliable. Other factors such as stress or change in eating habits can cause you to miss a period. Similarly, you can still bleed when you are pregnant. This is called implantation bleeding, and happens when an embryo attaches to the uterine wall. Pregnancy tests. There are two main types of pregnancy tests: blood tests and urine tests. Blood tests are the most accurate pregnancy test, but they require a visit to the doctor's office. They usually take much longer as well and require more money since you're making an appointment with your doctor. This is not the best option if you don't want others knowing that you are getting tested. Urine tests are over-the-counter tests you can easily find at a drugstore. This means they are cheap, around $5 per test, depending on the brand, and you have the comfort of keeping this information yourself. Urine tests are also accurate, and if you take it in the morning before drinking a lot of water, it can be the most accurate. Pregnancy options. Sometimes contraceptives don't work, or you or your partner did not use them. Exploring options that feel right for you is the most important. You can talk with a trusted adult, friends, or medical counselors. The choice is ultimately up to you whether or not you want to carry on. A person who is pregnant has 3 options: to parent, to adopt out, or to terminate the pregnancy, abortion. These choices are unique to every person's situation, and only the person who is pregnant can decide what is best for them in consultation with their doctor and family. If abortion seems like the right option for you, it is important to find the best resource, rather than going to the nearest pregnancy clinic. First, check www.abortionfinder.org with your zip code to find which centers are medically inaccurate. Parenting. Some individuals, whether they are adolescents or adults, may choose to carry the pregnancy to term and parent their child. They may choose this option if they feel ready to take on the responsibilities of being a parent, which include, but is not limited to, financial and emotional support. Choose what is best for you. Pregnancy options. Adoption. Others may choose to carry the pregnancy to term but do not yet feel ready to parent the child. In this situation, putting the child up for adoption is an option. However, the action must be done with responsibility as well. Abortion. An abortion is a procedure used to end the pregnancy using medicine or surgery. Some individuals may want an abortion if carrying the fetus endangers their life. In those situations, abortions may be suggested by the doctor. In addition, check whether your state does or does not prohibit or criminalize abortions, and know by which week of your pregnancy you are allowed to terminate. Visit plannedparenthood-action.org/abortion-access-tool/US to find out what the requirements are for abortion in each state. This link sets out the restrictions based on weeks of pregnancy. This handbook is in no way, shape, or form trying to encourage abortions. Do what feels right for you at the time. Consulting a trusted adult or close friend can be important. Ensure that these people are willing to support you in whatever endeavor you choose. Teen pregnancies. Data shows that in 2019, teen pregnancy rates had decreased to 16.7 out of 1,000 AFABs, mostly due to increased abstinence and increased usage of contraceptives. However, teen pregnancies still exist. That doesn't mean you have to hide and quit school. In fact, Title IX prevents your school from kicking you out. You have the right to attend school without facing discrimination from your peers or the school. Crisis pregnancy centers are health clinics that may provide medically inaccurate information in order to dissuade their clients from getting abortions. As such, finding the healthiest option for you and your future is the best option, whether it means giving birth and putting them up for adoption, taking care of them, or aborting them. Note: searching for pregnancy resources near me on Google may give you biased results. It is important to understand what a crisis pregnancy center is, because they may not give you the entire picture of your pregnancy. Crisis pregnancy centers are health clinics that may provide medically inaccurate information in order to dissuade their clients from getting abortions. If you want to understand all of your options, it may benefit you to find a different health clinic instead. Even if it is daunting, it is really important that you find a trusted individual to share this information with. It can help you find the necessary resources and medical attention. www.chataboutit.org/pregnancy-steps/ offers steps for teenagers who may want to terminate their pregnancy or wish to carry and parent.
Pregnancy. Practice worksheet.
True or false? Instructions. Read each statement and decide if it is true or false. Give a brief reason as to why you think so. Number 1. A missed period automatically implies that someone is pregnant. Answer. Number 1. False. Although a missed period can indicate pregnancy, it is not always the case. There are many other factors that can impact a missed period, such as stress or modifications to eating habits. People can experience implantation bleeding, and this occurs during pregnancy when an embryo is attached to the uterine wall. Regardless, a missed period does not always mean pregnancy. There are many other early symptoms in pregnancy, such as nausea, fatigue, and mood swings. Number 2. The only way to test to determine if someone is pregnant is through a urine test. Answer. Number 2. False. While urine tests are most easily accessible and the quickest result, there is an option to take a blood test. This is the most accurate type of pregnancy test known, but it is an investment requiring time and money. This route will also require others being aware of the test, and this may not be preferred by some people due to the lack of privacy. Either way, both the urine pregnancy test and the blood pregnancy test are readily available for use. It depends on individuals' preferences. Number 3. Using contraception won't fully protect someone from pregnancy. Answer. Number 3. True. Contraception does not work 100% all of the time, and not using contraceptives sometimes does not work either. Pregnancy is possible no matter what the given circumstance is, but you have options that you can choose to work for you. Number 4. You cannot stay in school if you are pregnant. Answers. Number 4. False. Teen pregnancy rates have dropped immensely, but they still occur.
Title IX protects people's rights from being forced out of school and allows you to stay at school and not be discriminated against.
Whether or not you are pregnant, you still have the right to learn, and you should not have to be shamed for wanting to learn. You can make choices and plans based on you and your body, and some of these options include adoption, taking care of the child, or an abortion. Multiple choice. Instructions. Read each question and decide which of the given solutions is the best answer. Number 5. How many parts is pregnancy divided into? A. 0. B. 1. C. 2. Or D. 3. Answers. Number 5. D. There are 3 trimesters during pregnancy, and these are during 40 approximate weeks of the pregnancy. During the first trimester, you should plan to visit your doctor and plan out your options and decide what is best for you. During the second trimester, you may experience many body changes that prepare your body for the child, such as stretch marks. During the third trimester, many false contractions occur, along with amplified discomfort and body modification like cramps, constipation, and aching. Number 6. Which is not a symptom of pregnancy? A. Increased urination. B. Menstruation. C. Food cravings and aversions. Or D. Bloating. Answers. Number 6. B. Menstruation is not a symptom of pregnancy. Often, a lack of menstruation is a hint that you could be pregnant. While implantation bleeding can occur, menstruation is not a sign of pregnancy. Number 7. When is the best time to take a pregnancy test? A. Right after you chugged water. B. In the morning before eating or drinking. Or C. In the middle of the day. Answers. Number 7. B. Taking a pregnancy test will be the most accurate when you have just woken up in the morning and have not eaten or drank any water yet. Drinking too much water right before can cause false results. These tests can easily be found in local drugstores in many different brands. The choice is up to you. Number 8. When is the best time to take an emergency contraceptive pill? A. 3 to 5 days after. B. 6 to 8 days after. Or C. 10 or more days after. Answers. Number 8. A. 3 to 5 days after unprotected sex is the best time to take emergency contraception because this is the only time it will be effective. Each pill is different. Therefore, reading and following the instructions for the specific pill will yield the best results.
Section 7. Personal Safety. Consent to sexual activity. Consent is a freely given agreement to sexual activity. That consent to one particular sexual activity does not translate to consent in other types of sexual activities. In simple terms, that means that just because someone has consented to sex once doesn't mean they will consent the next time. Giving consent to one person does not mean consent to another. Similarly, the lack of verbal or physical resistance or submission resulting from threats or force does not constitute consent. Consent must be given in a non-judgmental setting. The way someone dresses does not have anything to do with consent. The person can change their mind and withdraw consent at any time. If someone is asleep, unconscious, a minor, state laws may differ on the age of consent, incapacitated due to mental disability, or under the influence, they do not have the capacity to give consent. Even though this particular definition applies to sexual intimacy, consent is a concept that can be applied to all other aspects of life. Potential classroom activity. Have the students act out the following scenarios, or make up your own. Then transition into a discussion about what happened, or what should have happened. Example. Krista is clearly flirting with Dakota and is wearing a crop top and tight pants. Does this mean Alex can ignore asking Krista for consent? Answer. No. Though Krista may be interested in Alex, that does not mean Krista is interested in sexual intimacy. Whatever someone wears does not entail an invitation to engage in sexual intimacy. Example. Jordan had sex with Drew last night. Jordan assumes that since consent was given yesterday, it doesn't need to be asked for again today. Is this true or false? Answer. False. Consent must be a consistent process. Asking once does not mean you can ignore asking for it in the future. In this activity, make sure to offer trigger warnings. Potential classroom activity. Have students brainstorm their own ways of giving consent versus not giving consent. Ideas to start off with. I really like you and want to kiss you. Are you okay with that? Is it okay if I... Do you like it when we... Let me know if you feel uncomfortable. And I'm open to trying. Bodily cues can be nodding, smiling, and reciprocating. Additionally, you may say, maybe next time. I feel uncomfortable. I don't feel ready for this. Please stop. And I think we should wait. Why should you care? Giving and receiving consent is a process that shows respect for one another. No one likes to be forced into sexual intimacy, and actively asking for consent shows that you are respecting the other person's boundaries and limits, and engaging in activities that you both enjoy and want to be doing. So, if someone says no or some form of it, then you should respect that. A rejection does not mean keep pressuring until you get your way, but listening and engaging in an open, honest communication and respecting a person's boundaries. Relationships. Familial. Familial relationships can be biological or non-biological, based on who you see as your parents or primary caregivers and siblings. Familial relationships extend beyond the nuclear family label, including grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and everyone in between. Friendships. Friendships are a relationship between two or more people that is formed based on a mutual liking of those involved. Friendships are typically platonic and revolve around supporting the other's emotional and social health. Romantic partners. Romantic relationships often form based on attraction, whether it be emotional or physical. Romantic partners fulfill many of the same roles as friendships, with an additional level of intimacy. Sexual partners. Sexual relationships are those that form between people who engage in mutual sexual activity. While sexual partners may include romantic partners, they are not mutually exclusive. Marriage. Many people choose to enter a long-term, committed relationship with their romantic partners. While marriage takes on many meanings in many different cultures, it can be seen through the lens of religion and society. For religion, some faiths see marriage as a union between two people, or as a ceremony to bond two people together. Willingness or unwillingness to partake in sexual behavior before marriage is an important topic to discuss with potential long-term romantic partners. Additionally, marriage may be used to tie two families together. Arranged marriages, that is, marriages wherein the bride and groom are selected by others, typically their families, are a common way to solidify two families' close relationship. Arranged marriages are not to be confused with forced marriages, as they consider the potential bride and groom's consent and wishes. Forced marriages occur when either individual does not want the marriage to happen, yet they are pressured into the relationship. Boundaries. Boundaries refer to your personal space, whether it be physical or mental. For example, you might be someone who needs some alone time after school for 30 minutes, or someone who doesn't like to be hugged. Boundaries are something you set for yourself. If someone breaks into them, let them know that you don't feel comfortable. Eye contact and firmness can be essential in imparting your comfort level in the given situation. Setting boundaries does not need to be awkward. Don't feel that telling others is weird or aloofish. Prioritize your comfort level before someone else's or the group's. Who to talk to if a boundary is broken. If you feel safe and uncomfortable expressing yourself, the first step is to express your feelings to the person who broke the boundary. Many times, they may have slipped up or forgotten that you set the boundary, and having a discussion will bring clarity and ensure the person realizes maintaining said boundary is important to you. However, not everyone feels safe expressing it to the person who broke the boundary, feeling they won't listen or don't understand. In this case, it may be time to confide in a trusted confidant. Ultimately, letting out and talking through your emotions will help you to realize that your feelings are valid and that your boundaries should be respected. Additionally, this confidant may be in a position to talk to the person who broke the boundary. Privacy. Privacy is the freedom for you, your belongings, or your interactions with others to not be disturbed or observed by unwanted people. At times, privacy may look like being able to sleep with your door closed, or the ability to keep a personal, secret diary. At other times, it may be a friend asking you about a topic, you setting a boundary, and them respecting that boundary. The level of personal privacy for you to feel comfortable is based around the boundaries you believe in, whether they be mental, emotional, or physical. However privacy may manifest for you, it is valid and should be respected. Privacy violations. Just like boundaries, privacy is not always respected. If you feel safe and respected, remind or let the person know that the level of privacy they are comfortable with may not be the same level you are comfortable with, and remind them of what you do or don't feel safe with. If you don't feel safe or respected, consider confiding in a trusted adult or friend, and listen to their advice as to how to approach a situation. Keep in mind that respect for your privacy and boundaries is the end goal. Potential classroom activity. Create a Venn diagram for two types or more of relationships and analyze what similarities or differences exist in healthy or unhealthy relationships. Red and green flags, general and familial relationships. General relationships, red flags. Ignorance of boundaries, gaslighting or emotional manipulation, untrustworthiness, unreliability, verbal abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, or any unwanted sexual activities. For LGBTQ+ youth, threatening to out someone as a control tactic. General relationships, green flags. Supports your emotional needs, trustworthy, reliable, prioritizes your relationship, recognizes your change and development as a person, and is willing to work on the relationship if need be. Familial relationships, red flags. Refusal to grant privacy, neglection of needs such as food, water, clothing, or shelter. Using familial relation as a means to force you to do something. Threatening refusal of care or housing to their child based on gender identity, sexual orientation, sexual or reproductive decisions. Taking or destroying birth control methods their child got from a provider. Familial relationships, green flag.
All of the above mentioned in your relationships, as well as respect your privacy and supports your dreams and aspirations. Red and green flags, friends, romantic, and sexual partners. Friends. Red flags. If you are the only person to initiate conversations. If they only talk about themselves. If they act uninterested or don't care what you have to say. Friends. Green flags. Is interested in what you have to say, initiates conversations, and checks in on you whenever it is needed. Romantic partners. Red flags. If you are the only person to initiate conversations. If they only talk about themselves. If they act uninterested or don't care what you have to say. Romantic partners. Green flags. Listens to your likes and dislikes, remembers what makes you feel loved, and does it for you. Plans alone time. Dates. Sexual partners. Red flags. Threatening to leak private content involving you. Violating your sexual consent or only asking when prompted. Getting visibly upset or angry when consent isn't given or is withdrawn. Refusing to use contraception. Sexual partners. Green flags. Consistent and respectful asking of consent. Understanding when consent is not given. Cares about your sexual wants and needs. Potential classroom activity. Ask students what they consider their priorities are in familial, romantic, platonic, and friend relationships. Have them explain what makes them feel comfortable and safe, and why their priorities are important to others. Online safety. This seems like a no-brainer, but it is still important to reiterate. Never share any personal information to a stranger online. It's not cool, and it may come back to hurt you in the future. Don't send pictures you will regret, and don't spread the pictures if you receive them. Some states have child pornography laws, which can be found by visiting the resources we have compiled at the back of the handbook. Catfishing or identity concealment. When someone uses a false profile to deceive others on dating apps or social media sites. It's important to stay safe by setting backup plans. Potential classroom activity. Trigger warning. Give the below scenarios to students and ask them to explain how they would keep themselves or others safe. Example, you get a text from a close friend who asks you to share their Instagram password with them. Example, you get a text from your crush who asks you to send explicit photos of yourself. Example, a stranger sends you explicit photos of themselves. Trigger warning, sexual assault. Sexual assault occurs at an alarming rate. Nearly 1 in 3 women in the United States have experienced completed or attempted rape. 1 in 38 men in the United States have experienced completed or attempted rape in their lives. LGBTQ+ individuals are 4 times more likely than non-LGBTQ+ individuals to experience sexual assault. Most survivors were sexually assaulted by someone they know. Anyone can be a victim of sexual assault regardless of age, gender identity, or expression, or sexual orientation. While the majority of survivors are women, people from marginalized communities such as people of color, people with disabilities, transgender, and gender nonconforming individuals experience sexual assault at a higher rate than other communities. If you are sexually assaulted, the most important thing for you to know is that it is not your fault. Nobody deserves to be assaulted. Responsibility for sexual assault belongs to the offender, not with the survivor. Remember, only yes means consent. Silence is not consent. Not physically resisting is not consent. If you are drunk or drugged, you cannot consent to sexual activity. A previous relationship, previous sexual activity, or even a marriage license is not consent. Consent must be given with each encounter and for the nature and duration of the encounter. Each state has different ages at which you are allowed to consent to sexual activity. Check out the resources section for more information. Rape crisis centers respond immediately through 24-hour hotlines and 24-hour response to hospital emergency rooms and police stations. These services are free and confidential. The centers provide ongoing advocacy and counseling services. Rape crisis workers will give you information about the feelings you may have after the assault or abuse. A list of rape crisis centers can be found in the back of this brochure or at www.icasa.org. Sexual assault takes control away from the survivors. It is important that you regain that sense of control by making your own decisions. Rape Crisis Center staff can help you explore and understand your options. Additionally, calling 911 if you think you may have been raped but have no memory is another option. Potential classroom activity. Trigger warning. Have students explain how they would deal with the following scenarios. Example: you see an acquaintance threaten his girlfriend with leaking photos if she doesn't have sex with him, saying that all girlfriends have a responsibility to have sex. Example: you are on public transport and see a woman trying to grab a man's buttocks. From his distressed face, it doesn't look like they know each other. Example: your closest friend tells you that your other friend sexually assaulted her when they were alone. Personal safety. Practice worksheet. Short answer question number 1. Anjali recently set a boundary with her boyfriend, David, establishing that she wants to wait a few months before becoming sexually and emotionally intimate. David is okay with waiting before being sexually intimate, but feels that without emotional intimacy, he will not feel supported in the relationship. Can a compromise be made? If so, what steps should he take to find a compromise with Anjali? If not, what should David do? Number 1. Multiple answers possible. David should sit down with Anjali and talk about how the boundary may affect him, emphasizing that the discussion is not to invalidate the boundary, but to try and find a solution that will benefit both of them. David should highlight his emotions and the possible effects of a lack of emotional intimacy, while listening to Anjali's reasons why she believed the boundary needed to be set. If no solution can be found, Anjali and David would need to consider ending the relationship, as it may cause harm to one or the other. Short answer question number 2. Layla has recently moved out of her house to go to college. Her mother, missing Layla, has developed a habit of showing up at her daughter's dorm without notifying her beforehand. What should Layla do to try to get her mother to notify her before she shows up? Outline 2 possible methods. 2. Multiple answers possible. Examples: Layla can sit down with her mother face-to-face and establish a boundary, outlining the reasons why her mother showing up uninvited can have negative consequences. Layla can also discuss her situation to others who may be more likely to sway her mother, so they can convince her mother to give notification. Short answer question number 3. Ellie has just started dating her partner, Alex. A few weeks into their relationship, Ellie notices that Alex keeps hiding things from her, is always late to their dates, and is controlling. On the other hand, Alex always listens to what Ellie has to say, surprises her with gifts, and consistently asks for consent. Ellie is conflicted, torn between Alex's green and red flags. Should Ellie stay in the relationship? If so, what steps should Ellie take to improve the health of her relationship? If not, why shouldn't she? 3. Multiple answers possible. First, discussing her concerns with Alex, Ellie should highlight how some of Alex's behavior has been harmful to her. She should allow Alex a space to share their thoughts. If the conversation goes well and Alex commits to changing their behavior, Ellie can stay in the relationship. If the conversation ends in emotional manipulation, gaslighting, permanent disagreement, or a lack of change in behavior, Ellie may want to consider leaving the relationship. Short answer question number 4. Explain the types of close relationships an individual can have. Do boundaries and consent apply to all of them? Why or why not? 4. Familial, friendship, romantic, and sexual. Yes, consent and boundaries apply to all listed. Though these relationships may exist in different contexts and at different times, they all have the opportunities and choices wherein one can set a boundary and give or remove consent to a situation. Multiple choice. Which of the following is a green flag? Multiple answers possible. A. Reliability. B. Trustworthiness. C. Overcommunication. D. Both A and B. Or E. None of the above. 1. D. Reliability and trustworthiness. 2. Which of the following involves posing as an individual one is not? Multiple answers possible. A. Catfishing. B. Profiling. C. Identity concealment. Or D. All of the above. 2. A and C. Catfishing and identity concealment. 3. What percent of American women will face sexual assault at least once in their life? A. 5%. B. 10%. C. 20%. Or D. 30%. 3. C. 20% of American women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime.
STIs, STDs, and HIV. Nearly 1 in 4 U.S. adolescents and young adults have been infected with a sexually transmitted infection, or an STI. So if you have had an STI or if you have an STI, you are not alone. Having an STI does not make you dirty, and many STIs can be cured with antibiotics or can be treated. Below, we list some. STIs and STDs. STIs stand for sexually transmitted infections, which is when an infection is passed from one person to another through sexual contact, including vaginal, oral, or anal sex. STDs stand for sexually transmitted diseases and first begin as STIs, so it is considered a later stage of an STI. Causes. There are many etiological causes of STIs. Common ones are listed below. Bacteria, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. Parasites, trichomoniasis. Viruses, HSV2 or genital herpes, and HPV, or human papillomavirus. Risk factors: having sex without a condom, having sexual intercourse with multiple partners, injecting needles. Certain STIs, such as gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, and syphilis, can be passed from mothers to their infants during pregnancy or delivery. Symptoms. It is common to have non-visible or noticeable symptoms. Other symptoms are discharge from the penis, vagina, or rectum, sores or ulcers inside or on the vagina, penis, rectum, or mouth. Sometimes the sores or ulcers may be painful or not painful, or may be raised up or cratered. Pain when you pee. STIs can also cause rashes and bumps in the genital area and other parts of the body. STIs can cause a wide range of symptoms. Many will go away on their own, but it's important to see a healthcare provider to get them checked out and get the right medication. Testing. It's important to know that most STIs are asymptomatic. Up to 75 to 90% of infections don't cause symptoms, depending on the infection. So, it's important to get tested for STIs regularly if you're sexually active. Even if you use condoms, you should get tested because condoms can break or slip, and they do not cover all skin-to-skin contact. The CDC recommends testing for gonorrhea and chlamydia at least once a year for sexually active persons under the age of 25. You will need to ask for the testing at your regular annual checkup as it is not automatically offered. This will be covered by your insurance. Note, if you use your insurance, it might result in an explanation of benefits notice that goes to your parents. Public clinics often offer STI testing for free or at reduced rates. Treatment. Gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, and trichomoniasis can be cured with antimicrobials, and they can each get tested with different medicines. Don't take old medicines or someone else's medicine, because they might not work. It's important to treat STIs sooner rather than later, because infections that go untreated longer are more likely to result in complications that are difficult to treat. It's also important to treat STIs. The inflammation they cause in your body can increase your risk for getting HIV. Complications: chronic pelvic pain, pelvic inflammatory disease, infertility, tubal infertility, pregnancy complications such as miscarriage or transmission to neonate, eye inflammation, arthritis, certain cancers, HPV-associated cervical and rectal cancers. HIV and AIDS. What is HIV and how does it spread? HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, is a virus that attacks T cells, which makes it harder for the body to fight off other infections. HIV spreads through contact with certain bodily fluids of a person with HIV, most commonly during unprotected sex, sex without a condom, through sharing injection drug equipment, such as used needles, or to an infant during pregnancy or delivery. Stages of HIV. Stage 1. Acute HIV infection. People have a large amount of HIV in their blood and are highly contagious. Some people may have flu-like symptoms within 2 to 4 weeks of exposure as the body tries to fight off the infection. Fever, chills, rash, night sweats, muscle aches, sore throat, fatigue, swollen lymph nodes, mouth ulcers. Some may not experience any symptoms at all. The only way to determine if you have HIV is by taking an antigen or antibody test, or nucleic acids tests. Stage 2. Chronic HIV infection. At this stage, HIV is still active but reproduces at much lower levels, so people can still spread HIV during this phase. People may not have any symptoms or feel sick during this stage. Without seeking treatment, this stage may last for a decade or longer before people move into the third and last stage. Stage 3. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. This is the most severe stage of HIV. People's immune systems are so badly damaged that they are much more vulnerable to get opportunistic infections, a number of severe illnesses. Like the first stage, people with AIDS have a high viral load and are very infectious. Without seeking treatment, people with AIDS can survive up to 3 years. Testing. Why should you get tested? The CDC recommends that everyone between the ages of 13 to 64 get tested for HIV as part of their routine healthcare. Getting tested is the only way to know for sure if you have HIV. Where can you get tested? Many medical clinics, substance abuse programs, and hospitals offer HIV tests. You can also choose to buy an HIV self-test at a pharmacy or online. Although there is no effective cure for HIV, you can still control it with proper medication. Treatment. Most people can get the virus under control in under 6 months, so it is important to start treatment as soon as you receive a diagnosis. However, taking HIV medication does not stop the transmission of other STDs. Prevention. Use condoms for any sort of sexual intercourse. Other types of birth control, like birth control pills, shots, or implants, will not prevent HIV. Make sure that you and your partners regularly get tested for STIs, including HIV. Do not douche, as it removes the bacteria in your vagina that protects you from infection. Do not share needles. PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, is a medication which can be in the form of injection or pills that prevents HIV. PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, is used to reduce chance of contracting HIV after sex or a possible exposure.
Discussion questions. Here are some discussion questions that can be for classroom use or personal reflection. 1. Why do we feel embarrassed discussing sex? 2. Why is learning about the different forms of consent important? 3. How can we be respectful when talking about these topics? 4. How can we help a friend who is struggling with A. a relationship, B. their mental health, C. their identity and/or sexuality, D. abuse? 5. Why is it important to learn about human physiology? 6. How can we use this information for the future? 7. Why do we need this information even if we may think we don't need it? 8. Why might people make dangerous decisions even after receiving sex ed? 9. What do you value most in a relationship? Romantic, friend, familiar, etc. Why? 10. How do gender stereotypes frame sex ed? 11. How does a heteronormative perspective skew sex ed content? 12. How else, other than providing sex ed, can we destigmatize these topics? 13. How can we advocate for others' health and safety? 14. How early should we be learning these topics? 15. What do you think makes a sex ed program successful? 16. How can we measure its effectiveness?
Sex ed can get awkward. The members of the youth-led organization, the Sex Ed Initiative, decided to team up to create a comprehensive guide to sexual health education. Complete with worksheets, discussion questions, and medically accurate information that has been checked by experts, this handbook can be used for independent learning or in the high school classroom. Have questions or suggestions? Email us at thesexedinitiative@gmail.com.